Hello, everyone. Welcome, Ivy from Women in Blockchain.
Thank you, Melissa. Let me just get my slides up. Hello, everybody. Good morning. And if you are at my time zone, good evening to you. And today I'm going to share with you some common questions that new blockchain developer usually ask. Now, a little bit of the background. Now, these questions is the questions that have been collected while conducting training since 2019. And a little bit of context before I start sharing. These questions usually coming from developer who want to go into be the blockchain applications developer, not really like the blockchain core developer. Because usually when people hiring for core developer, they're usually not hiring like a core developer per se. They will hire network engineer, cryptographer, or data engineer. So most of these questions are coming from the developer who want to be a blockchain applications developer, the DM. And it is not referring to any specific blockchain, it just in general. And the audience usually coming from IT or CS lecturers, developer, or the students. They are from various regions. And surprisingly, over the years, the questions I get are surprisingly similar. And that is what gave me the idea in talking about this topic. Now, the first questions that most popular questions I got is, where is the data stored? The simple question is, in the blockchain. Now, blockchain, we know that like is a network of nodes work together, and it come together and validate the transactions that sent by the users, and they store all the data, and that is where it is. But then people will start asking, is blockchain just another database? Well, the question is yes and no. Because blockchain, you can only add information to it, you cannot edit it, and you cannot delete it. And of course, to the second question, how to update the data, that is no, you can't update it. And that means that the functions you can use to call it is just get and post. And just think about it, how the blockchain works. It basically is a linked list. It is also called the digital distributed ledger technology, is because it's awfully similar to how an accounting ledger works. Now, imagine that like, you have accounting books, right? You have a ledger, and the ledger would have an opening balance and a closing balance, and in between is whatever transactions that happen between that month. It is the same things like a blockchain. So whatever happens, happens. We cannot turn back time. When we are in a centralized network, there is an administrator where you can go back and back up the data or do some edit and roll it back to wherever you want to adjust it. But in blockchain, you cannot do that because there is no one administrator and the network is distributed. Everybody have a copy of the data, and you cannot ask everybody to edit the data that, somebody have make a mistake and want to roll it back. If you want to roll it back, it means that you have to fork the blockchain. Now, since you cannot edit anything, so if that is anything, some things or transactions that you do wrong, what you're going to do about it. It's just like in accounting system, you have another transactions to revert whatever mistake you've done. Now, it's easier to state than done in the blockchain is, take for example, if you're supposed to send 10 Bitcoin to Bob and you accidentally send it for 100, you can only correct the mistake you did if Bob willing to send back to you the 90 extra Bitcoin that you sent to him. So this is how the blockchain works. So it is a database, sort of, but it's not like the database that we used to have or we still using that you can do edit or delete. So because everybody in the system would hold all the informations, all the transactions that happened, it means that the database can grow very big, and hence keeping the data small is important. You only keep the necessary data, like who is the sender, who is the receiver, in the timestamp, and whatever you want to transfer to the other person. So you can look at it almost like a log of an activity. Now, then it leads to another questions that like, okay, we are sold for the blockchain solutions and now we want to use the blockchain. How we migrate our database currently used to the blockchain? The short answer is no, you don't migrate it. You just start from where you just start fresh and almost like taking a snapshot of what you are using last time and move it on to blockchain. It just like, you are using your fiat money and buy into crypto and you start from there. I'm pretty much oversimplified this. And the only thing is, like blockchain is not here to replace the database that you're using, even if blockchain is sort of like another type of database. A lot of people call it, it's just another database. But to me, it is not just another database because half the functions of the database is gone. And just now, I think Patrick and Jared did mention about gas fee in blockchain transactions, which that would lead to the next questions a lot of people would ask. Now, what should I store on chain? Since you are talking about like the data, the size of the data is going to grow very big because everybody is keeping every single transactions that happens in the blockchain. What if I want to store some files on chain? An NFT, I want to store the file on chain. Should I? Matter of fact, again, come back to the statement that I mentioned earlier on, blockchain is not here to replace the database. It's basically here to record the transactions that like what happens during a period of time. So all this kind of data that is a big file, you can store it almost like in a different layer, or we can call it a blockchain database that is not on chain. It can still be your traditional database. And a lot of people using IPFS, especially for the NFT. And this is also because the security of the blockchain, it depends on the redundancy of the data that's stored in every single node in the blockchain. Now, database have been taking like most part of the explanations here. That is because blockchain is sort of like just another database. But another questions that is commonly asked is why there are transactions fee. Like usually when developer who want to get into this space, they won't ask these questions right away. Usually it will start with these questions. Why some of the coins are missing? Now, when we are coding smart contract, when it's being deployed and the user use it, every single user would need to have their own address, which is the key pair, the private key and the public key. And that represent themselves. And there are always going to be a sender and a receiver. So if says that like I want to send some coins over to Bob, it's either Bob is going to find that like, hey, Ivy's supposed to send me 5 coins, but some of it is missing. Or I'm sending to Bob and then I find it like, hey, I'm supposed to send 5 coins to Bob, but how come more than 5 coins is missing from my account? And that is because the gas fee, the transactions fee. It can be paid either from the sender or the receiver. And why this happen? Now we're talking about blockchain is a decentralized network. But why people want to come and be in this community, this network, spend all the power to verify the transactions, to come into consensus, to agree which transactions to put in the block, which block to form. They come in to do it because that is a reward. And that is what we know of mining or staking. Except that like, you are running on a blockchain that is private, it's run by a corporate or consortium, that's a different story. But generally what we're talking about here is public blockchain, and the nodes that doing all those work need to be incentivized, and the incentives are coming from the transactions fee or the gas fee that you pay. Now, along the way, when developers are learning to code the smart contract, a lot of the time, the transactions that they form and announce the network fail. Most of the time, the transactions fail. It's not because that there's something wrong with your codes or something's went wrong. A lot of the time can be because of insufficient fund if the sender are the person who's supposed to pay for the transactions fee. It's a bit difficult to gauge how much transactions fee you need because there's a few things that it depends on. First is the payload, and this is why that we're talking about optimizing the codes so that like you do not not only that like so your codes do not keep on looping and kind of drain out all the funds you have in your account, but it also so that it can be really optimized and it saves you the gas fee. In some blockchain like Ethereum, the gas fee can be fluctuate a lot, and that depends on how congested is the network, and it also depends whether how quick you want to have your transactions being included into a block. But some blockchain, the fee are generally depends on the size of the payload. So this you need to check back with the blockchain. Now, all right. Now then, it comes to these questions. I'm sold to the blockchain. I love to start learning about it. How should I start? when developer ask these questions, usually what they want is, show me the code. Developer usually like to start from learning how to code right away. Not all developers, as I understand, would say that, okay, let me go and study about computer science, CS50, to understand how computer works, how the data is being stored in the computer. They want to start with the codes. I get it. There's nothing wrong about it. And a lot of people start with that way. And my answer to that question usually is not what the developer like to hear to, okay, here is where you go and learn about the code. I will usually tell them that I learned about the blockchain fundamentals. Now, why I would say that like learning the blockchain fundamental is very important. Coding on blockchain is very different from we code our application, mobile applications or desktop applications or web applications. If you have any error or it keep looping or anything, you can just, stop it or just wait until that, it is done. But when it's the smart contract is deployed to the blockchain, there's no way for you to record it. There's no way for you to edit it. So whatever that you have sent to the blockchain, it is not only about the transactions that you did that cannot be edited. It is also including the smart contract, the code that you deploy on the blockchain. So understand how the blockchain works could help you to reduce this kind of mistake that might happen. And understanding how the protocol works, the architecture of different blockchains, and going back to the what kind of data to store on chain or off chain, and that it also leads to understand the layer 1 technology and layer 2 technology, where that is the way for you to optimize the gas fee. I understand that it would really help you to become a better developer. And those questions you asked earlier on, the database, the fee will be answered. And thank you for having me here. Thank you, PyChain, for having me here. I'm really delighted to have this, to be part of it, and happy to have this, to see this conference come to realizations. And thank you very much. And if you'd like to get in contact with me, that's my QR code that you can scan to get in touch with me. And I'm not sure if I have time for Q&A or if there is any questions.
Yeah, I don't think we have much time for Q&A. However, they can join you in the face-to-face after to ask questions. Again, thank you so much, Ivy from Women in Blockchain Asia. And yeah, this was awesome introduction.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, everybody.